It's week 3, and we'll discuss our favorite plays on the main slate on FanDuel as we prepare a full cash and GPP lineup, and it's all coming up next. Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Lay.
And I'm Michael Wiley, and we're the Fantasy Football Consultants.
We'd like to thank our FFC community for being so active in the comment section with their takes on the main slate on FanDuel. We really like the Mike Evans takes to bounce back. Remember, the most active and accurate commenters who provide the best reasons will qualify to compete in the contest to win a $200 prize pool. So get those comments in. Remember, details of the contest are in the description.
And if you haven't yet, please hit the red subscribe button. It's free and it really helps our show.
All right, let's start with our cash lineup on FanDuel.
Let's do it.
All right, Michael, we're on the main slate for week 3. We always like to start running back. Can't go Christian McCaffrey. He's not on the main slate. So where are we going to start?
Well, you look there at the top and you think, gosh, Derrick Henry seems super tempting, but he's also really expensive. And I think that, Indianapolis is going to learn from Seattle's mistake. Tempting to go with Seattle with Dalvin Cook, who's at Seattle, but I think he's got an injury and he's also super expensive. So let's save some money and go down a little bit, although it looks like we're looking at more than just running backs here. So let's change it to running backs. And a couple $1,000s less than Derrick Henry is Nick Chubb. I heard you talk a little bit about how he had a couple of touchdowns robbed from him because Baker Mayfield got in the end zone and the fullback got in the end zone. They didn't run the ball quite as much as they probably would have had they been up as early as we all expected. I expect that to happen this week, especially with some of the quarterback issues in Chicago. Nick Chubb is going to pound the rock. What do you think?
Yeah, they're 7.5-point favorites. So game script should be in Chubb's favor. Also, gosh, I think they have to run the ball because who's going to catch the ball? Not Jarvis Landry. He's out. And I don't know if Odell Beckham, who hasn't played yet this year, is going to be ready for this game. So Nick Chubb, I think, will get a lot of carries and maybe even a little bit of work in the passing game, which we always hope for. And so home favorite backs we love, and I will double our pleasure for home favorite backs. Let's put in Najee Harris, also in a very good situation against a Cincinnati defense. Man, let's just take a step away from fantasy for a bit, Michael. This guy's really good. Even if FanDuel won't get his picture, I actually saw him play. The guy's a beast. It's just too bad he doesn't have a better offensive line, because if so, his rushing average will definitely be better. He played a very tough Buffalo defense. I think Cincinnati will be more forgiving. I look for a breakout game here for Najee Harris, and how impressive he is coming out of the backfield catching passes.
He's the every down back there, right? And that's something that Pittsburgh does different than some other places. I think he's going to be rewarded. He's such an athlete. Pittsburgh's going to have to figure out this run game. I like this. I like this choice.
We've spent some money, Michael, but I kind of want to talk flex. Let's talk flex for a minute, because I like running backs. It's not enough just to have 2. I want a third. And the guy that I want is surprisingly affordable, given his talent and given his game script. Austin Eckler at $7,000. Remember, Michael, when after week 1 and everybody said, "Oh, Austin Eckler doesn't catch passes anymore. What's up with that?" Once again, overreaction by the public. He caught 9 passes in week 2. And what was impressive in that first week was they were using Austin Eckler on runs inside the 5, which is really great. And I think this is going to be a major shootout, more important than what I think. Las Vegas thinks so, with a 55.5 over under. I like Austin Eckler for a reasonable $7,000 price.
Yeah, no, he is one of the best running backs out of the backfield. He's CMC-like in a lot of ways, maybe not quite as impressive in terms of breaking tackles, but in terms of catching the ball out of the backfield, We saw him do it 9 times. All 9 targets resulted in receptions.
All righty, Michael. How about QB?
Well, I think let's stay with this theme of running backs since it seems to be what we care most about because the only running back it seems that's left on the Baltimore Ravens is Lamar Jackson. And we saw that Baltimore is sick and tired of losing to, AFC West teams and decided Kansas City, I'm not going to lose to Kansas City anymore. And the key to that was to let Lamar run. And that actually opened up the passing game for him as well, as we saw Hollywood Brown get wide open a couple times in that game against the Kansas City Chiefs Sunday night. So Lamar Jackson is he's going to be a beast. I really like this choice this week.
2 weeks in a row, he has led the Ravens in rushing. So yeah, Michael, we did something amazing. We figured out how to have 4 running backs in our lineup on FanDuel. Yeah, he'll throw the ball a little bit as well. I just want to emphasize, I've had the pleasure or displeasure, depending on how you look at it, to watch more Detroit Lion football in the first 2 weeks than I ever have in my life, because I picked against them in Survivor. So I really was interested in that game. And let me tell you something, this Detroit defense sucks. There's bad, and then there's the atrocious, and then there's the Detroit Lions defense. I mean, they gave up the most points last year. This year, after 2 games, they've given up the most points other than the Atlanta Falcons. So I think Lamar Jackson is going to be licking his chops both on the ground and in the air. Love this pick. I think he has a tremendously high floor in cash game given his price. All right, so we spent some money. Let's admit it. If our first 4 picks, we only can spend a little less than $6,000 per pick. But I don't want to sacrifice quality when I look at my wide receivers. And I think we can take advantage of this situation. Remember, as we said in our DFS masterclass, wide receivers is the most volatility, right? From week to week. So all because a guy has not done as well as he's done in the past, don't get down on him as long as you know that he is a quality wide receiver. And I'll talk about them together. 2 super quality wide receivers. Let's talk about the guy who led in receptions, led in yards last year, Stephon Diggs. And let's talk about the number 1 wide receiver on my Seattle Seahawks. I don't care. I do not care what FanDuel thinks. They put Lockett higher. It's DK Metcalf. So not only do I just think, hey, these guys are going to turn it around this week, they're in great environments. Seattle is playing in one of the highest scoring games, 55.5 over under. And they actually have a 29 implied total. And Stephon Diggs has a 27 implied total playing at home. What do you think, Michael?
Well, what I think is you didn't leave us any money for these other picks, but we all know what you're going to do on the defensive side, so that helps a lot. So Diggs is ready to break out. I think that the Buffalo doesn't want to lay an egg like they did that first week, and Stephon Diggs being part of that. We saw him get a touchdown this week is a key part of that. And it's time for Seattle also to get the ball to DK Metcalf. That's going to be in the game script, in my opinion, against this Minnesota defense, which has not been that strong against the pass.
Spending money like a drunken sailor and worry about the consequences later, or Congress, either way. You know what? I'm still going to spend some money. Let's see. How much is my budget per player? $4,800. Who cares? I'm going way over $4,800 for the last wide receiver on our team. And that is a guy that's in a tremendous game script. One of those really high scoring games. And look, I like Cooper Kupp, folks. I love Cooper Kupp, but even I have to admit that we cannot afford Cooper Kupp. How much is Cooper Kupp? He's at $7,900. But I'm going to get someone who's almost as good as Cooper Kupp in the same environment at $1,800 less, Robert Woods. Michael, what do we know about Tampa Bay? Just look over here. You can't run against them. And this isn't just some fluke because of just 2 games. That was true all last year. Toughest team in the NFL to run against, but they are susceptible to the pass.
Very much so.
Yeah, and can the Rams pass? Sure they can with Matthew Stafford. And I also love the fact that they'll sneak him in 1 or 2 times a game by letting him rush the ball.
Yeah, it's I think Cooper Kupp, everyone knows now that he is the go-to guy, but Robert Woods is an equal talent physically. There were games last year and the year before where he was the number 1 target of Goff, but now we got Matthew Stafford back there. So we have to save the money. If we didn't, obviously we'd pay up, and I think this is a great pick at this price.
Okay, so I am going to take stock of where we are. We have a tight end and a defense. So there are, and we have a whopping $8,300 to do both. So therefore, Travis Kelce, we can't even short count Travis Kelce, even if we could somehow skip a defense. So I have 2 alternatives for you, Michael. And the second one is the one I'm leaning on, but I want to give the people two alternatives that they can think about. So one alternative says, okay, let's take a peek at a guy who was a top tight end last year. And the only reason he hasn't done anything this year is he hasn't played. So we want to check his injury status. He was limited in practice this Wednesday, but if Evan Ingram is a go, you can look at his stats in 2020. He had the 5th most targets of all tight ends last year on a per game basis, which is the most important stat. And I love his matchup facing the team that's given up the most points of anybody in the NFL, the Atlanta Falcons so far this year. So what do you think of Evan Ingram, assuming he's healthy?
Yeah, assuming he's healthy, I think that, it's always a concern. Just because someone plays doesn't mean they're going to get a ton of snaps. So I think that makes him cautious, but I like his price. But do we really, are we going to take advantage of that so we can pay up for a defense? We probably still can't afford some of the better defenses, right? So
no, in fact, there we can only afford the last 3 defenses, which are all bad, but the least bad, I would say, is the New York Jets, which is why I am going to go with the other alternative. We can upgrade the defense. Let's just tell you what the defense is. The defense is a defense. Hey, all right, just don't worry about the name, Michael. See if this tickles your fancy. 8 sacks so far this year. Playing at home, and they're playing a team which is known to have a bad offensive line. That sounds pretty good, right? Can't argue with that. Okay, then I'm going to say the name, and then you're going to lose interest. The Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings face my Seattle Seahawks. Don't be fooled, folks. You score points in fantasy not by holding the team down in points. Okay, like Seattle's going to score the points. You get it through sacks and turnovers. So as we see, they've got 5 sacks in week 1, 3 sacks in week 2. And as I mentioned, the Seahawks have a below average offensive line. And sometimes Wilson holds on to the ball a little bit too long. So given all our alternatives down here, Atlanta, Minnesota, Cincinnati, Chargers, Jets, Jaguars, and Lions, I'm guessing that you're supportive of the Vikings.
I am supportive given the alternatives, but what is that forcing us to do on the tight end side?
All right, so we got to pay down for tight end, but I'm okay with this guy at only $4,800. Give me some Jack Doyle. Jack Doyle, what has he done this year? He's been fine. Average of 6 targets a game, but I love his matchup, Michael. He faces a Tennessee Titan team, right? Which last year was terrible against the pass. So far this year hasn't been good. And you might ask, well, wait a minute, who are the Titans going to play at quarterback, right? It could be Carson Wentz,
the Colts, who
likes to check down. but it also could be the rookie, Jacob Eason. And I think he'll use Jack Doyle as a security blanket a lot. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. I watched part of that game. I saw when he did get involved in the game, it helped them move the ball. They're going to need to do more of that. I know they're using their run game a little bit more now that Jonathan Taylor has established himself. But Jack Doyle has, historically been, very good. And so with the defensive improvement to go from the Jets to the Vikings and not knowing exactly what's going on with Evan Ingram, given that we couldn't afford any of the kind of more preferable tight ends, I think this is a good choice.
Yeah.
Like all my caveats, don't I sound like a lawyer?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, just I would say the guy that I would love, if you can in your lineup, get up to TJ Hawkinson. That's pretty exciting, but obviously we can't. He's a lot more expensive. Do you have a favorite tight end, Michael, of the week, assuming you were starting your lineup?
Yeah, I would have gone with Hawkinson because of what we've seen Baltimore allow to happen to some of these better tight ends the last couple of weeks, and what he looked, he's the go-to target. So that's kind of where I would have gone. There were probably some bargains that we could have looked at wide receiver, but they wouldn't have had anywhere near, in my opinion, the upside that we have with Diggs, Metcalf, and Woods. So I'm satisfied going with Doyle here.
All right. Well, don't worry. Hawkinson's coming up in the GPP, and let's go to that GPP lineup right now. All right, let's talk through our GPP lineup. You've got to start it with a stack. In our humble opinion, you should be attacking one of three games, either Seattle and Minnesota, the Chargers and Kansas City, or the LA Rams and Tampa Bay. I really wanted to do the Rams and Tampa Bay, Michael. I just feel like with Tampa Bay, it's so hard to know which one of those weapons of the many weapons that Brady has is going to go off for that particular week. So I feel like the Chargers and the Chiefs, I have a better idea what is going to happen, at least more likely to. So I'm going to go with Justin Herbert, who's been sensational so far this year, to Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen has just been just fine. Thank you very much. He's topped the 100 yards mark twice. And we're going to run that back with a guy that has a huge ceiling, which some people may be off on because, he struggled last week. But Tyreek Hill is great potential for a huge ceiling game any week.
Yep. No, I think this is the game to go to right here.
All right. So we're also going to use Austin Eckler as a part of that stack as well. And we already talked about him. So I do not understand how low Saquon Barkley's stock has fallen according to FanDuel. Only $6,000. Admittedly, I was too afraid to put him in the cash lineup, but we have no problem trying him with GPP at only $6,000. You got to make sure he's healthy. He's currently listed as questionable, but he's got a dream matchup facing the Atlanta Falcons and their terrible, terrible, terrible defense. Terrible, no good defense. So
yeah, he wasn't used last week much in the Thursday night game, so he's got a long break against the Redskins, and he obviously has huge upside. I think a lot of people are down on him right now, but in a GPP lineup, this is a great choice for this price.
All right, so we've already talked about DK Metcalf and briefly talked about Hawkinson. I'm just saying they do not have another weapon. It's Goff's favorite target is Hawkinson. There's nothing wrong with Hawkinson, Michael, except maybe his haircut.
I don't know. I think that would look good on you, Eric.
He has more of your type of hair, so I think you got to try it. All right, so we've already discussed Robert Woods. So the last thing to talk about is the Buffalo Bills defense. We had the money in this GPP lineup to pay up. Look, Buffalo is a 9-point favorite at home. So game script wise, Washington should be behind. If we finally get Josh Allen on track here, that is what will happen. And, if you get this great Buffalo defense, knowing that the Washington has to pass, man, some good things could happen.
I don't see Heineke having the same week he had against the Giants. So this could be some real points for the Buffalo Bills this week.
They pitched a shutout against Miami, 22 points. So we know they have that ability to be pretty impressive. That's our GPP lineup. We're going to put on the screen. We did our NFL Survivor and DraftKings show previewing week 3. Check that out. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.